Greetings, one and all. It's Blair Johnson with the Badass Records podcast, welcoming you in for another episode. Pleased to share with you all that this week's guest is none other than Solomon Alpert, who is the husband to the lovely Lisa from an episode late last year. Check her out. Solomon is a Reentry Counselor at Benilde Hall, which helps folks by fostering sustained recovery, stable housing, economic self-sufficiency, and improved mental and physical well-being. Podcast episodes air Thursdays. Find them on YouTube or where you stream. The socials are Twitter and Instagram if you're interested in keeping tabs on the thing. Website where everything lives is badassrecordspodcast.com, and if you would like to get in touch with me, you can hit me up at badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com. That's all I got for you today. Appreciate stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. I think this will be episode number 159. Marker is there as a reminder for one of us to have you sign when we're done.
Okay, so it's a okay.
Yeah, but this is Badass Records podcast. Solomon Alpert, thank you for making the cold, dark trek over after a work day. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, likewise.
I am gonna. I'm already a touch warm, so I'm gonna put that down a notch. Let's see. Had one husband and wife do individual episodes. Kyle and Tara Davis, back episodes number 20 and 41. And then I had Jesse and Brandon Rock of Skate Bar. They used to be a live music bar, skateboard shop in St. Joe, and recently relocated to Westport. They came and did one together for episode 70. Your wife Lisa did episode 147, and now here you are a dozen episodes later. And so whenever little nerdy details like that crop up, I don't pass on sharing them.
Got to take note. Yeah.
So let's see here. You all are freshly located. Everyone's adapting well to that. Kids, animals, etc. Everybody's doing well.
Yeah.
Good. And then Facebook led me to believe that are you born and raised in the area?
Yeah, I grew up here.
Okay. Siblings?
I'm the oldest of three brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shouts out to oldest.
Yeah.
I got three younger sisters.
It's a cross to bear. Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, the oldest is like the one that your parents are just starting out.
Raw.
Yeah. And
fresh.
They're it's from the hip.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so all the like, you just have to you're the guinea pig test out. They're more seasoned by the time they get to your younger brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have many quirky things that I do, but one of them is once my sort of mental checklist to be ready for one of these conversations is complete, I sit down and kind of scroll TikTok, and it managed to stay around beyond the January 19th ban. I don't know. Are you on there? Do you?
All my TikTok content is filtered through my wife.
Okay.
So I rely on her to give me the updates.
Okay.
Involved with TikTok.
Gotcha. Sunday, at some point in the middle of the afternoon, was like, oh, it's the 19th. I wonder, because they were like, maybe it'll go away. Maybe you'll be able to use it until the next kind of update, whatever. But let's see. And I opened it, and it was immediately normal. However, there was a message.
I saw that real dystopic message with the fearless leader Trump and
What in the fuck? Like, he wasn't. I mean, I know that you forever, even beyond the grave, refer to former presidents as President Alpert or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was just like he's not president.
Yeah,
yet.
he's not even in there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounded like it honestly sounded like something that you would get out of like some totalitarian.
Yeah.
Someone's trying to advance themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there's a lady that's making the rounds, podcast, talk show wise. I want to say her name's Mel Robbins, but I'm not positive. And she's either making the rounds now or it's my algorithm. My algorithm is just now catching up to it. But she's like super wise and talks. I know she and her husband like years ago opened a restaurant and is successful, and so they like jumped the gun and did location 2 and location 3, and then everything went as south as you can. I mean, they left no stone left unturned in terms of taking their own funds to try to band-aid, and it just anyway. She seems to have a ton of just life experience, wisdom, and I was just watching one with her where she was talking to a gal, presumably who had some kind of issue with her mom, and kind of across the span of the relationship, and it was kind of like, it's up to you to sort of make peace with it, or do what you will with it, but you got to realize when her parents had her, they probably didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and she probably didn't get all of her needs met. And then, just one generation later, it's her in the driver's seat and you're the kid. And it's like easy for me to remember that as a parent raising kids now, but seldom do I remember that to be the case for the other direction.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just, it's I guess something I need to work on, but I'm probably not alone in that. Just shouts out to firstborns.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Do you have any idea how your folks met?
How my parents met? I feel like it was not something like remarkable. I think they were just set up on a date. And,
right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
And got together from there.
Lots of interesting answers to that. One that always comes to mind first is my dad pulled up next to my mom at a stoplight and asked if she wanted to pull over and talk.
Wow.
And she said yes.
Very bold.
Yeah, on both parts.
Yeah.
Both parts. Another one that always comes to mind is this one was without hesitation. That's their business, man. I'm not going to get into that. And I was like, okay.
I hope everything's all right.
Yeah. So did they put on music to listen to when you guys were young?
Oh, yeah. No, we had... I was raised, so my age, that puts me in like a solid in the CD era.
Yep.
But my dad had he kept all his vinyl collection from when he was younger. I mean, heavy rotation when I was younger. Paul Simon's Graceland got a lot of heavy rotation. Pat Metheny, from Lee Summit, got a lot of. My dad's big into jazz. He was head of Jazz Commission, so he has a pretty sizable jazz collection.
Jazz Commission.
The Kansas City used to have a jazz commission that was in charge of citywide, like jazz events and like planning around jazz events and like coordination between venues. So they were primarily responsible for the pub crawl, which happened every year.
Okay.
If you remember that. He's still got some posters left over from when he was like in charge of the pub crawl, and they were
90s, right? Yeah. Okay. How long do you know how long the commission was around?
I'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the trajectory, like when it started. I don't know that he was the first or last head of it, but I don't know how long it was around.
Okay. I wonder if it ceased to exist because of funding or because people didn't have the time and interest in running it anymore, or...
I'd guess probably a combo of both.
Yeah.
I know from multiple people that I've talked to, including my dad, for any kind of jazz event, like you're really gonna max out on the number of people that are actually gonna go.
Right.
I think people are in theory very interested in jazz, but actually going and like enjoying jazz like as a music in person it
Right.
just doesn't have the interest level that
Yeah.
other
Well,
kinds of
there's
music does. Yeah.
probably that whole tiered thing with any event where it's like, yeah, I'm into jazz, and that'd be a thing that I could definitely see myself going to, and then day of you're like, you know what, it's not gonna happen this
it's
time.
not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Graceland, Pat Metheny, jazz. Anything stand out that Mom was a fan of, or?
My parents had this Annie Lennox
Mm,
record,
okay.
the one where she covers the Bob Marley song,
Okay.
the Waiting in Vain one.
Okay.
They were real big into that. Steely Dan, and then Donald Fagen had his own solo record that they played a lot. What else did we get a lot of? Bobby McFerrin, but he had
Cool.
like it wasn't. He got real popular with the Don't Worry, Be Happy
Uh-huh.
song. Yeah, but he had like a number of like actual jazz records, and so they played a lot
Right.
of those. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites that I've brought up on here before. Had a college radio show for a little bit in Colorado, and it came out during that time. And in fact, my second born was born in my bedroom.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And that was one of this record called Circle Songs was one of 2 or 3 that I played across that process. And it's, I think, 9 tracks, and it's just vocals, no words, but like just singing and melodies and chanting, and it is divine. It
Yeah.
is so freaking good. I love Bobby McFerrin.
Yeah. I know he's real talented, and I think he just
What about live music? Did you guys go see shows together, or did you get out and see anything when you were around middle school age, or?
What did they take us to? I don't know if anybody else. Maybe there were some people in Kansas City who remember this. There was it's this a cappella group. It was called the Bobs, and they had this like fun songs for us as kids, and
Yeah.
we bought the tape at the show. But
Cool.
it was at Crown Center in the summer where they have the ice rink.
Yeah.
So that was one that got some pretty heavy rotation. My first concert that I really got to. I'm trying to think. Oh, I went in middle school. I saw the Beach Boys with my dad.
Wow.
It was minus Brian Wilson.
Right.
And they were already getting pretty on in age at that point in like the late 90s. But what else? My first concert that I saw at like Sandstone. I went to Buzz Beach Ball out there.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the year that Weezer came with
Nice.
with Cake. Cake was there. It was pretty fun actually. I
Cool.
liked it, yeah.
Very cool. And so, you're talking about these heavy rotation stuff that we got a lot of when your folks were playing music. What about an album, when we eventually sort of step out and carve the path of our own tastes? First, not necessarily from your list, but a first album love or acquisition or a borrow?
So I remember, like, when I was younger, so I think my 10th birthday, I got my first own CD player, electronic skip protection, which was like, so you could move it and it wouldn't skip.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But I got Smash Mouth, Astro Lounge was
Okay.
one of my first CDs. But then my cousins were big into Dave Matthews, and so
Okay.
they gave me the Dave Matthews Live at Red Rocks one.
Nice.
So that one, I spun that a lot with like my own CD player.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I wish I could still find them. They had, like Grateful Dead shows. People go, they take tapes, you make tapes, and you could buy the tapes of their live shows.
Buy
or have, yeah.
Trade?
Trade,
Yeah.
Dave Matthews, he's got a similar type of following.
Yep.
And so they actually had some, I don't know how I guess they got them at concerts, but like ripped CDs of Dave Matthews shows. So
Okay.
I had a whole stack of those that I would listen to, but I at some point along the way I lost them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you recall feeling like each Dave show was unique?
I mean, I pretty much, I wouldn't say that I got like into it on that level. It was pretty much the Red Rocks
Okay.
one, and then
Okay.
there was one that he put a CD out with Tim Reynolds, just the two of them. So it was just the two guitars.
Yeah.
I listened to that one quite a bit too. I think that was like a college in some college
Absolutely.
event. Yeah,
It
yeah.
made somebody's list. I want to say Columbia College, but it's not Columbia College.
It's something like that.
Yeah. And kind of lengthy, like maybe a double.
Yeah,
disc?
both of them are doubles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
there were some that I would skip, but for the most part, yeah, I would like later at night. I could be in bed. I could listen to that at night.
Sure.
You know, I would do like cross country and track, so they would bus us out to various things. So that was another time that I could like
Heck yeah.
hit that up. Yeah.
Pembroke Hill. On your page.
Yeah.
Is that high school? I've probably learned and forgot, but there's like Pem Day and Pembroke. Is there a K through 8 and a high school? And which one did you go to?
So Pembroke Hill, like in the past, it used to be there was like Pembroke Country Day School and Sunset Hill.
Okay.
It used to be segregated by gender, and then they blended
Okay.
at some point in the past. So I started there in 4th grade, and I went all the way through
Okay.
graduating high school.
Okay. Where were you before?
I went to the Jewish Day School, the Hyman Brand Hebrew Academy.
Where's that?
So do you know, like on 119th, where the Jewish Community Center is?
Yeah, the
yeah,
J.
yeah. There's like a building. There's like a whole area
Okay.
behind that.
Okay.
That's got the HBHA
Right on.
there.
Right on. Why the move?
I think my parents were really looking for like hard into like rigorous academics and college prep,
Cool.
and so they
Cool.
Pembroke Hill just has
Yeah.
they just have more going on there.
Yeah. And then you land at William and Mary in Virginia.
Yeah, that's where I
That's-
went as undergrad. Yeah,
That's a smart kid school, right? Like not everybody can just get into that place.
yeah,
right?
yeah. That was at the time in high school, that was considered a reach school for me. I was kind of surprised I got in.
Oh,
But I think
okay.
through a combo of like decent academics and I felt like I think at the time, did not have as much out-of-state male applicants.
Huh.
William and Mary is technically a state school, so that's one reason why it's so sought after, is because it's like fancier. I don't really know how to put it. That it has like higher prestige,
Sure,
as they
sure.
say.
Yeah.
But it's still a state school, so it has a lower cost.
So did you say decent academics? And then,
yeah,
and then
I'd
the
say like
state,
a B plus, A minus,
Okay.
that zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you major in?
I would characterize myself as an extremely unfocused student during my undergrad.
Okay.
So I started off in an American Studies major, which is just a kind of ended up being kind of a grab bag of different classes.
Yeah.
And then I did a summer abroad in China,
Whoa.
primarily staying in Beijing.
Okay.
I took a bunch of Chinese language and culture classes along with that. And so I ended up finishing, I got like a double major in both of those things.
Okay.
So,
Did that mean you had fluency? And in Mandarin, would you say, or is it?
it was Mandarin, like Beijing Mandarin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty difficult language to learn, or
Yeah.
at least it was for me. And basically from the moment I exited college, I didn't really ever use it ever again. And once you stop, you start to lose the vocabulary. Like even if you are fluent in something, if you don't keep it up, it's almost like your brain kind of like sheds
Yep,
a lot
exactly.
of that vocab memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you knew enough to get all of your needs met and whatnot while you were there.
Well, I was there. Yeah, I could hail a cab. I could
Sure.
I could find my way around if needed.
Cool. And what year did you wrap up at William and Mary?
I graduated in 2009.
2009, and
Yeah.
then UMKC for the counseling program for your master's.
Yeah, that started in 2014.
Okay, so you had a little
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
window there. Okay. I finished in Colorado in 98 and was like kind of torn. Am I staying in the psychology lane? Am I doing writing or literature or something like that? And I mean, 8 years, 7 years later, I land at UMKC for their creative writing master's program,
Mm-hmm.
and my now ex, started 1 year after me in that program that you got into. So it was a very cool sort of set of lenses to look at, because both of our stuff's happening evening and night.
Mm-hmm.
All classes, and so there's not a whole lot of. Obviously, it's dark out, and there's not a lot of activity or folks walking around like you would see on a normal campus during the day.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I know she liked her experience there. Did you enjoy yours?
You mean at UMKC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot out of it. I liked all the professors there.
Yeah.
I had a good experience there. I had a really good experience with supervision there as far as like doing practicum and internship.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd say pretty well across the board. I
So-
feel like it does.
What'd you say? 09 for William and Mary, and then you start UMKC in 14?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There was, all I can really recall at this point, there was an Asian dude that was her supervisor, and he had a funny name, like just a single syllable first name that everybody referred to him by.
Oh, that may have been a little bit after my time. I feel like I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I may have encountered him before,
Yeah.
but I don't. He wasn't anything.
Yeah. And so did that end up being a 2-year program?
So most people finish the one that I did in about 3 years.
Okay.
I ended up taking a little bit longer, and there was a chunk of time at the end that I just like didn't finish my internship in a timely manner, so it took
Sure.
me until 2018 to finish.
Gotcha. So this double major of Chinese and
American Studies.
American
yeah.
Studies, and then you land in this program at UMKC. What was the process like for you to arrive at that decision?
So between leaving undergrad and starting grad school, I mean, I just like not very professionally focused. I'm in recovery now, but at that time in my life, it was a lot more about just like, I didn't really think one day the next. I kind of just liked, drinking and getting high, and that was kind of my thing.
Yeah.
So I took just like odd culinary type jobs that were amenable to that kind of lifestyle, and I didn't really think too much further than that. But my parents were supportive. I had opportunity to go to therapy a lot. I didn't make much headway at that time. I think probably because I was not really
Lucid.
I just wasn't really lucid, and I just wasn't really thinking on those terms.
Sure.
But eventually I got to the point where I kind of felt like, well, I've got all this therapy experience. It's been meaningful enough. This could be a good route for me to go. I mean, truth be told, I think I applied to. I didn't think too much about it.
Okay.
I just saw that it was a program available in the area, and I had enough interest in it that I just like went for it. I think honestly, just to make it feel like I was gonna like do something with my life. Yeah.
One more step in the direction of adulthood, as they say.
Yeah.
But you that's what you do now, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, in hindsight, quality decision.
Yeah. No, I'm pleased that I went through with it. I think as opposed to grad school, I was a lot more focused on the end goal. I think I did not have a great idea of what I was doing as an undergrad.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 18, like you don't.
No, dude, I mean, the concept still, every time I think about it, the notion of choosing a major as a freshman undergrad, and then there's my experience was like, it's fine. Like, you don't have to right now, but at some point you'll need to once you're there and knocking out some basic stuff. And then it sort of felt like, if you hadn't chosen by the end of freshman year, the pressure
Oh yeah.
kicked up, and then like occasionally you would meet somebody that's like finishing their junior year or starting their, and they're still, and people like talk about, it's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, how would you expect a person to know what the hell they want to do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and like just I think just like emotionally speaking, you know,
That
I've lived
too.
with my parents my whole fucking life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't, like my brothers were my best friends. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden I'm in this whole new environment. So like, for me especially, I just didn't really know how to like operate socially. Definitely didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I did fine in class. You know, Pembroke is like, it's a good school.
Yeah.
Like they really do prepare you for like the once you get into the class, like you kind of know what to do. But outside of that, like having a like overarching goal that points towards what you're supposed to be doing with your life, I just was not there yet.
I hear you.
Between the ages of 18 and 21.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned recovery, your positioned reentry counselor
Yeah.
at. Is it okay to talk about for a quick second work?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
Benilde.
Yeah. Yeah. So Benilde Hall.
The R is silent.
Yeah. Oh, did I?
No, you didn't write anything. This is me just Googling. I thought maybe I'm just not reading my hand. Okay, maybe it is, but just
Yeah. It should just
Benilde.
be Benilde.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was wondering if on my Facebook I like put
Nope.
threw
Nope.
an R in there.
No. I need these to see far away, but close up stuff's blurry and my
Yeah,
writing's
yeah.
a little sloppy. But this place helps folks by fostering sustained recovery, stable housing, economic self-sufficiency, and improved mental and physical well-being. Is this a recent-ish spot, or did you land there right after school, or?
So after school, you know, and this for a while, this really was a struggle of mine. I just didn't really like have great direction after I left school. Consistently, I've done pretty well when it comes to like going to the class and doing what someone tells me to do
Right.
in there. But then when it came to like finding direction for myself, I just didn't really have it. So I had a quick stop start. I went to one semester of the psychology doctoral program at the Kansas City University, uh, the medical school down there on
KU?
no KCUMB. So like
KCUMB.
it's down on what is that? It's down on the Avenue.
Okay.
I
I haven't heard of it before. Has it always been called that?
Yeah, it's an osteopathy school.
Okay,
and
cool.
When I started there for a semester, it was a brand new psychology program that they just started.
Interesting.
So I kind of started and stopped. I think because I didn't really think through very well at all what I was doing there, I had a really tough time sticking with it. So
Okay.
I started and stopped after only one semester there. And then all throughout school, I had spent a lot of time working in actually property management. My mom is a commercial real estate broker in the area. So that was my job, was working for her. So I kind of continued doing that for a bit. And then eventually, it was actually through a friend of mine from AA that I was going to. I started working actually in construction.
Oh, wow.
I got a job in specifically like wood floor sanding and refinishing.
That's rough on the back and knees, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to. You get used to it. You kind of figure out how to do it
Sure.
safely, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How long were you doing that?
So I got out of school in 2018. I think I started the flooring job in 2020.
Okay.
And that went on for a couple years.
Okay.
And then I got a job through First Call, which is like a local like recovery organization. They have a bunch of different branches that they do. Like they've got stuff for school age kids, they got stuff for families.
Okay.
But the job that I got was actually more of a case management position.
Right
But
on.
I was working with people who are recently getting out of prison. So from there, I made connections at Benilde Hall where I work now.
Cool.
Just like because I had clients that also lived there. And then from there, that's how I got my job.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what do you have initials that go at the end of your signature? What are they?
So I am a PLPC.
Okay.
That's provisionally licensed professional counselor.
Gotcha.
So that means that I'm like building up hours. Once I reach 2,000 hours, I'm eligible to become just a LPC.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that's the same path my ex.
Yeah. So at the end, I'll be like what you probably see, like those same letters you probably see after like a therapist. If you go to see a therapist, that's probably what they'll have
for sure. Well, that play I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I'd never heard of it, but it sounds like a pretty cool spot, and the purpose behind it is obviously admirable and necessary. And so you've been there a couple of years.
So I've been there. I was at First Call for a little over a year, and now I've been at Benilde Hall for a little over a year.
Okay, right on.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I I like hearing the path that folks take academically and career-wise, and thoughts behind choices that were made and what it feels like looking back. And so sounds awesome. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for sharing an awesome list with me. Normally I'll run through them just in release order, but we're gonna stick with the order in which you gave them to me.
Oh, okay.
For this.
Yeah, honestly, I threw them up there as I thought of them, so I don't know if it's not really like a 1 through 5, but
cool. So to kick things off, Cocteau Twins, Heaven or Las Vegas. This is 7 of 9 for them. 10 tracks, 37 minutes. Scottish rock. I have only heard of these guys prior and had never listened until getting ready for this conversation. How did you wind up turned on to them?
So my particular age cohort, when I was in college, the name of the game for like indie rock and college radio was like Pitchfork. So we'd all, you go on Pitchfork and read up all their lists. You can get through all their reviews and stuff. And that's, when like something new and hot would drop on college radio, you could kind of keep up with it all through there.
Gotcha.
This I only came across because every so often they'll put out a list of top this many albums for this. So this made it onto, what was this? Their 90s list. I think they put it in their 90s list. Yeah. I can't remember if they put it in the 80s or the 90s. I can't remember how they broke it up, but it was in one of those lists, and I had never heard of it.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked the, artwork.
Sure. Yeah.
So I looked up the song. So Heaven or Las Vegas is, like, the famous one off of it.
Yeah.
And then from there, I was living in Lawrence. It's a part of my work history that I left out. I also had a false start, very ill-advised less than one semester of MBA program at KU.
Okay. After you're back from William and Mary?
Yeah.
I meant to ask, by the way, when you're out there, were you able to come back for breaks and visits, or were you kind of stuck there since that's in Virginia, right?
Yeah, I would come back and forth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. So you finished there and then ill-advised partial semester doing MBA stuff at KU. Were you living in Lawrence?
Yeah, so I was living there, and then I just continued living there.
Yeah.
Basically until I came back and started at UMKC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I remember I heard the song, I liked it, and then I was at the Love Garden there, and they had a copy of this on the CD.
Cool.
So I bought it, and then from there, it got, very heavy rotation in the car.
Okay.
And so that's how I ended up listening to it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, for whatever reason, associated them more with early and mid 80s.
Yeah.
And so when I see that this is 7 of 9, I'm like, oh, that tracks with that, since this is what, a 1990 release. But then it seems as though this was commercially their most successful album.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I don't know. You know, it didn't seem like there was any like big smash hit off of anything earlier than this.
No, I think they had one other album that's kind of similar in sound
Okay.
to this that was before this. I haven't listened to that one as much, but prior to that, it was definitely more like 80s post-punk with some like ambient or electronic elements.
Sure.
But this is definitely a lot more. All these songs are pretty tight, like tightly written, and it's definitely more palatable, like as a popular record release. Yeah.
Right on. So 8 others. Have you poked at each of them, or?
No, I'm pretty much like, this is the one I got on CD. I've meant to go back and look. I've got one other earlier one of theirs that I can't recall the name of it. But this is the only one of theirs that I've really listened to
Sure.
heavily. Yeah.
Do you drive a vehicle today that has a CD player in it?
Yeah,
Nice.
I do. Yeah.
Nice. I do too, and I've mentioned this before, but I am a little sad at the notion that it might be the last one.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever. The thing I drive now is a 16, which is, you know, not new, but I think you get any newer, much newer than that, and they don't, I imagine, make them with them anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. I recently got my old car crapped out, got a new car.
Okay.
But it's used.
Sure.
So I had some choices as to which car to get.
Yeah.
The CD player actually did factor in. So mine's now a 2017, but it has the CD player
Nice.
in it. Yeah.
Nice. And do you find that you're using it often? Do you also stream in your car?
So I'll do either CDs, or most of the time I have satellite radio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not like moving 8 or 10 CDs that you've just over listened to a whole bunch out and a new set in frequently.
Not lately. But my typical pattern, you know, I'm pretty well satisfied with having the radio, like the satellite radio in the car. But my typical pattern with CDs would be, yeah, you get your stack in there, a couple 5 of them.
Yep.
Really burn out on them, and then you swap them out for some other ones. Yeah.
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 I the same, and I haven't done it here probably in a year or so, in just over a year. But I was in a real pattern where I was like, I would know that burnout of this particular album is around the corner, and sort of mentally caution myself.
Oh, and cut it off.
And then
so
and then 2 weeks later, it's like, yeah, why didn't you just stop then? And now it's like, I'm probably not going to listen to this. And it always comes harking back to, but it's funny how that works.
Yeah, sometimes you got to take a break.
Yep.
It happens naturally.
Yep.
But yeah.
Absolutely. So the reason that I wanted to just stick with the order that you shared with me was because you mentioned wanting to discuss Liz Phair's Exile in Guyville and Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion in tandem. So you've got, on the one hand, an American singer-songwriter in Liz Phair with her 1993 release that was her debut, that would be followed by 6 more, this one with 18 tracks, 55 minutes. And then Jepsen, Canadian singer-songwriter, with her third of 7, 12 tracks, 44 minutes, all of which leaves me with 3 questions for you. 1, discovery story for each. 2, the importance for them both earning a spot on your list. And 3, why did you want to discuss In Tandem?
Well, the In Tandem part, I think, thematically, although the execution is much different for both of them, I think thematically they touch on... Well, I won't say much different. Thematically, they touch on a lot of the same things.
Such as?
I think like the experience of being in relationships, like romantic relationships, being
sure.
out of them, pitfalls of relationships, trying to feel empowered when you don't necessarily feel so empowered, complicated emotions that come along with trying to like get along with another person. And then for me, listening to something from a female perspective, Liz Phair I think is more explicit
Of course.
in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then also I think the way that they wrote it's like lyrically pretty tight.
Okay.
I think like their lyrics pack a lot of punch. They don't have to use much words to say a lot.
Sure.
So that's one thing I really appreciate about
Okay.
them. Yeah. But discovery wise, two different stories. I mean, Liz Phair, I remember my mom had a friend who gave her. This would have been, how old was I? I guess high school. So this would have been like late 90s, early 2000s. Like early 2000s. Yeah. Maybe 2002, something like that. She had a friend gave her a packet, like a CD package that had a bunch of burned CDs on it.
Oh, yeah.
With all the albums that he had been listening to at the time.
Yeah.
Liz Phair was one of them. So the very first time I heard this, it was getting like driven to school and whatnot. And she would play it. The one from that time that I remember the most was what's that called? The Flower song. That's number 14.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one's by far the most explicit, like sexually. And so I remember it at the time. I was like, oh, this is naughty.
Yeah.
But
What?
but I came back to it later on.
Okay.
More in my adulthood.
Is there a one-word track right before Flower or right after Flower?
It's right before Shatter.
Shatter.
Yeah.
That one, when I meant to look up who else had this on their list. It's been some time ago. It doesn't matter. But that one really stood out to me because I snagged this on cassette when it came out. Mm-hmm. And I remembered, I was like, oh, I think this was my favorite track from this record. But you remember Flower and then came back to it. The whole album itself at a later time.
Yeah, at a later time. I own it actually now on vinyl, but I can't remember. I might have honestly downloaded this illegally at some point.
Okay.
In college. Yeah. But yeah, just like I don't know. Just they're like fun songs that sound fun.
Sure, yeah.
She singing with like no vibrato in her voice, so that like flat kind of I thought it's really interesting. And I think she communicates the experience and emotion of relationships really effectively.
Yeah.
In it.
Well, I mean, there wasn't 93. I mean, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of females doing sort of that singer-songwriter / pop, and I only use that word to suggest accessibility. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a whole heck a lot of that. It's like she's doing it, and Sheryl Crow's doing it, and I think you kind of got an explosion, not necessarily immediately, but not long after. You really saw it, the lane sort of widen.
Yeah, I mean, was the cassette fairly popular when it came out that you remember, or?
Yeah, it made a splash for sure, and I don't know if it's because you get some tit and some nipple.
Yeah,
on
like
the cover,
yeah.
Or if she was, I think it was that. I think it was also like, she's at very least from this album cover art attractive.
Yeah.
And then you get, there's a lot of boldness
mm-hmm.
To not just the relationships and pitfalls of navigating all that stuff, expressing that, but also being very frank, being sometimes profane, being sexual. So it popped for sure, but it was not, it wasn't one of those fireworks that lingered and sparkled in the sky. It kind of fizzled out, but because there was other stuff going on. But this one, Mom had and listened to, and what about Carly Rae?
So I remember her. I remember liking "Call Me Maybe" when that came out as a single. It was like a guilty, a guilty pleasure. And then I remember her, like, this album came out and it was well reviewed, but I kind of was like, I refuse to be liking that. Anyway, my brother went to, I think it was the Pitchfork Festival one year, and afterwards he was like, who actually was probably the best performance that I saw there, honestly? And he said it was Carly Rae, and so I went and picked up her CD, or no, I ordered it. I ordered it online.
Okay.
Got the CD.
A copy of this?
Yeah, this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I ended up, this is another situation where I ended up listening to it a great deal in the car. And so I kind of stayed in there for a long time. And yeah.
Did you ever poke around at other stuff of hers?
Yeah, so the EP that she put out right after this, the side B, was really good. And then the record that she did after this one also, I've listened to that one quite a bit. I forget, Dedication, I think is what it's called. Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I think she just, it's pop music, so you gotta like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's like catchy melodies. It's, I think, lyrics that are like in some ways fairly simple, but I think also like have more to them, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah. And she's, if memory serves, pretty concise with track runtimes. They're all kind of in that 3 minute and change, right?
Yeah.
For the most part on this album.
Yeah, and from what I understand, she will go in, record a very large quantity of songs, just churn them out, and then pare it back down.
Okay.
Into the... So it's all... I appreciate her level of thought and craftsmanship that she puts into specifically making like an album that's enjoyable with songs that are like... This is all like runtime wise. This is all pop music. This is all pop music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And which I only mentioned because Exile and Guyville varies a little bit more in terms.
Yeah, some are real short, some are a little bit longer.
Yep. So memories forged, if you will, for you, and both of these just from windshield time and having them in the car.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff. Let's see. So from there, Shoots Too Narrow, The Shins, from 2003, second of 5, 10 tracks, 33 minutes. Now, was I right in saying Cocteau Twins was Scottish rock? Was I right about that?
Yeah, they're from, I think that's right, Glasgow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started with Scottish rock, and then we go one Canadian, one American female singer-songwriter, the tandem of Liz and Carly Rae, to indie rock out of Albuquerque.
Yeah.
So are the Shins big for you? Are you familiar with their other four?
Yeah, so this is the one I've listened to the most.
Sure.
The one, I've listened to their first one a fair amount also. The one after this, the one that was real popular, like on the buzz in the area.
Yep.
On 96.5, when that was still around.
Right. The perpetually changing radio landscape.
Yeah, but I mean, this one definitely was the one that I played the heaviest, for sure.
And it makes its way to you how?
So I think I'm trying to remember the trajectory exactly. this is going to show my age also. Garden State was an extremely popular DVD when I was in college.
There you go.
And I watched that movie a lot. Everybody had the soundtrack also.
Yeah.
And so that, I heard those couple of Shins songs that they had off of the Shins first album. And then from there, I started to listen to other stuff. And this one ended up being the one that stood out to me the most, yeah.
I feel like I've asked this exact question on here before, but I can't remember it at the moment. So, is Garden State the one with the dad, like maybe Alec Baldwin?
So it's Zach Braff is the main character.
Okay.
Ian Holm is his dad. Plays his dad.
And is there a mom in the picture?
The mom, that's like the main part of the storyline is that the mom is already, she dies at the beginning of the movie, and that's why he ends up coming back to town to.
Okay.
So he had left New Jersey to go to California and become an actor, but the funeral of his mother, after he kind of became estranged from his family and friends there, and kind of tried to deny his, New Jersey part of himself.
Yeah.
He returns after his mother dies. Yeah.
So is this the movie where the dad says the son, making love is like eating Chinese food? It's not over till you both get your cookies.
No, I don't think
no.
that's, yeah.
Damn it. See, I think I made
It's a similar era, though.
Yeah. Okay. I need to rewatch Garden State. Otherwise, I would probably not be confusing that with whatever other movie I'm thinking of.
I'll look it up after this.
Yeah.
Figure it out, yeah.
I mean, it's, it's like Garden State, Almost Famous, and there's a third movie, which is maybe the one I'm thinking of, that, like, good writing, good acting, good story, but the soundtrack, the tunes in it are sort of part of the engine of why it became as popular as it did, right? Like, Garden State soundtrack, people loved, right?
Yeah. In as much as I think people liked the movie a lot, and they kind of like, spoke a lot to the feeling of being, in my case, I saw it when I was 18.
Right.
The movie's really about like being in your mid-20s.
Right. Right.
But definitely the soundtrack. I actually, the Shins, I was introduced to them through that one. Who else was on there? I'm drawing my blank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There was a number on there that were.
So you said you have Exile and Guyville on vinyl?
Yeah, I've got that one on vinyl.
How long have you been collecting?
So my dad had a good amount of vinyl.
Is that yours now?
No, he's still got his collection.
Okay,
he's maintained it. Yeah, and then I've got my own. Just going to concerts and buying records, going to the record store and buying records.
You buy records at concerts and then care for them or are you doing it on your way out?
You try and hit it on your way out.
Okay.
If the concert is like subdued enough, you can kind of do it at the beginning. I've certainly committed to purchasing, merchandise at the beginning of a show, which is not advisable. Yeah. Well, because then it's like I'm either like holding a sweatshirt, carrying a sweat, you know what I mean? Yeah. Putting the T-shirt on over the T-shirt but then you're the guy at the concert wearing the T-shirt of the band that you're about to go see. Yeah.
Which I always give a pass for if that's what happened.
Yeah.
If you bought the shirt at the show, cool, but don't take your Shins shirt out of the drawer to get in the car to go to the Shins concert.
Did you ever see that movie PCU?
Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Yeah.
More about the Shins. Was this part of the CD listening in the car as well, or different time?
Somewhat. So I would say like when I was in college, I don't think I even had a CD player in my car.
Okay.
But I also wasn't driving a great deal.
Right.
So my primary, I'm remembering now. Yeah, I had the tape player. You could buy a thingy put the tape in. It had the like cord and the little dongle on it, and you could plug your iPod into that.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and the sound quality was not
tremendous.
I
was thinking of in the end of my high school days, where tape goes in and then the cord goes to a Discman
Oh, nice.
that
Yeah.
just sits in your passenger seat or whatever.
Yeah, same idea.
Yeah,
Same
yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I had that. I also had there was an attachment that you could get that you plug into the lighter,
Yeah.
and it would have this little like box on there, and you pick a radio station at the bottom of the dial, like whatever the lowest number is that
Yep.
doesn't have a station, and then you plug that into your iPod.
Wow.
And then it would broadcast. Oh, the sound quality was also not not great. Not great.
Nice.
Yeah. But
Cool.
yeah, so I had it. I had it on the iPod. I actually downloaded it off of I think the first time I got it was off of like, they had a program you could get where you could basically tap into the LAN line of the entire college campus.
Oh, wow.
And it would enable you to download music that existed on other people's like iTunes that they were also sharing.
Like Wi-Fi before Wi-Fi?
Yeah, so you had to be plugged into the landline.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do that, and then you get this program, and I forget what it was called. But yeah, then just like you could search on there, and just music would pop up, and you could just download from what other people already had on their computers over
That
the
can't
network.
be a thing that lived very long.
No,
Right,
no, very
right,
short-lived.
yeah.
But this was, I think, one of the things that I got
Cool.
that way. Yeah.
Very nice. So next is 2015. If you're reading this, it's too late.
Yeah.
Drake, 17 tracks, 68 minutes. So 8 studio albums, 4 EPs, and 7 mixtapes. I believe this is his 4th of those 7. We're back in Canada, and this icon of sorts that is Drake. I may have asked Lisa this same question, but I don't recall. So I'm asking you too. What's the difference between an album and a mixtape?
I think mixtapes typically were not, and in this case, I'm not quite sure exactly what distinguishes it. I'd have to look up more how it worked, but I think if you are doing a mixtape, that gives you more free reign to take samples from whatever because you're not technically selling it.
Right.
So, and in the past, when I was coming up in my college years, mixtapes were something that you go on like DatPiff or something and download for free because they're released for free on purpose. In the past, like if you lived in a bigger city, or I think probably if you went to like Seventh Heaven or something here, you would go and spend like $1 or $2 and you could get the mixtape.
On what format?
It would be a CD.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Or an actual tape. Yeah.
With liner notes and album art and...
I think it would like come with stuff, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the Drake discography, when you get to the mixtapes section...
Because this one technically is a mixtape, right?
Yeah, 4th of 7. So the first 3, you've got... the date that it was released and a few details, and then by the time you get over to like charting and sales and so forth, all those columns are blank for the first 3, and then all of a sudden those fields are populated for like 4 through 7 or 5 through 7, and it's because he signed with somebody who that is, whatever entity that is escaping me right now, but that clouded my already rudimentary understanding for what a mixtape was, because I thought you release it for free because you're not selling it, but then all of a sudden he's with a label or with somebody.
Yeah, I'm assuming he made money. I mean, this was released, like I purchased this in a store. So
for more than $1?
It was like $10, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
So I'm not really sure. I'd honestly have to look that up. I guess I had not really thought too much into it, other than I like mixtapes were something that I would like they would release for free. But
yeah,
I don't think he released it for free. I bought it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I know. So I think one Drake record has made somebody else's list, and it's the cover art is like sort of a side profile look at his head.
Yeah, so that'd be the one like before this
one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. I listened to that for that person's episode, and I listened to this, but I really know hardly anything about him. What can you tell me about the guy? I see, he's beefing with this person, whatever.
Yeah, so he got pretty well pieced up in his latest. He's had a number of feuds.
Pieced up?
Yeah, like he got really like he got most people would say that Kendrick Lamar handily won
The feud.
their latest feud.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Um
So
but
pieced up does not mean made amends with.
no, like
Okay.
pieced up, like cut to pieces.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. Uh, okay, so most folks would say that Kendrick owned him there, but I
Yeah.
mean,
In the past, like this is the era of Drake that I really like.
okay.
So come like leading up into 2015 and this album specifically. I think since then he's only gotten kind of more divisive with people.
In terms of what he's
The people I think a lot of people don't really like him like personally, and I think a lot of people like his musical content has not necessarily been maybe it's just my opinion, but like has not been as strong
okay.
as it was
Interesting.
at this time. Yeah.
Um,
Or at least to me, this album's more cohesive, and I enjoy. There's a couple that I skip, but like I enjoy it collectively for the most part. I think he's reliable for making like very catchy singles, but later albums that he's released have not really like necessarily stood up as well as this one. I think if most people, like critically speaking, if people had to list Drake albums, a lot of critics probably put this one at the top,
okay.
and in my opinion, for good reason. Yeah.
Any idea? It appears just looking at the track listing of this that he has some kind of obsession with the number 6.
Yeah, I don't know exactly why. I think the 6 refers to Toronto.
Okay, okay.
I believe. Yeah.
So interesting that you say that about the content of this one. And not everything can be for everybody. And I never want to try and yuck anybody's yum. But old guy, like, disco and hip hop and rap and gangster rap and across the 80s and into the 90s, it's real hard for me to listen to something more modern and not draw
Yeah.
comparison. And I thought Jungle, which is second to last track on this one, had a pretty full and entertaining soundscape. Sonically there was like a beat and so, a synth. There was more. It was a fuller sound, but more or less, the majority of the tracks on here they're kind of naked.
Yeah.
To me, like you got these real kind of short, crisp beats, and he's not really doing a whole heck of a lot that would drop my jaw lyrically. Obviously, there's features, but I mean, the 2015, like who's not having lots of features?
Yeah. Yeah.
Favorites for you from this, or stretches of songs or themes?
I like that first track. Honestly, number 2 is pretty good. I like they've got like a number 9, 10, and 11 kind of run together.
Yep.
So I like that stretch also. It's honestly it's hard for me sometimes to put my finger on exactly why I like the Drake songs so much. I totally get the criticism. You know what I mean?
And I definitely didn't go into it with that thinking.
Yeah.
But I do feel like maybe the other Drake album that I listened to, or a mixtape I listened to,
The one right before this.
Yeah.
So Nothing Was the Same, and it's got him, and then like a child version of him, and they're looking at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, and this is one listen, and it's not the car. It's
Oh, so prior to this, you give a full, put it on in the headphones and listen.
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, like, there's this, unless you're attention fully committed, not divided, at home, like, I don't know, sitting in your vinyl/record player room, not doing anything else but listening to that. So really the only place for me that I feel as though I can get a kind of forced concentration is behind the wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if it's highway and not,
Yeah.
dealing with traffic lights and crosswalks and all stop start and all this other stuff. You're obviously concentrating on the road and being safe, but your mind is also kind of locked in a way that it's not anywhere else. So when I am listening to these, I'm also most of the time, sometimes I'll listen to them in the car, but then I have to like try and take the occasional note on my phone when I'm stopped.
I see. Yeah.
But so I'm like also looking shit up about the artist or taking notes about the album or coming up with questions or whatever. So it's not. Anyway, that was a long way of saying the one before this and this, one listen apiece, and that's all I've got in the Drake vault, if you will. But man, I mean, he's been huge for years, and I don't think struggles to put groceries.
No, there's a pretty specific, I think, formula for his kind of combo of like rap and R&B. I'd probably categorize him more in as like a pop artist, honestly, just for like how he's real good at making like specific kind of like speed of beat, singing or rapping over it, and it kind of is. I find especially in the car, this was pretty easy listening.
Nice.
While I was driving.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is yet another one that that I ended up listening to a bunch of times just because I'd have it in the car, and I just let it roll.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. So the pieced up comment referring to his last release, how long ago was that?
This was all within the last year.
Okay.
They had a back and forth, and they traded certain songs. And then Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us" became very popular.
Yeah.
But that was his like ending diss on Drake.
Yeah.
Also.
Did you listen to the latest Drake?
I don't know if I have.
Okay. Interesting.
I might have. So like, a lot of my listening in the car now comes on satellite radio. So a lot of Drake songs do come on, but it doesn't always tell me the release date of it.
Okay.
So I may have heard it, but I don't know.
Is this serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How long have you had that?
A number of years now. I hadn't really considered it for a while, and then I found myself like, what happened? I used to drive a Fiat. It had a CD player, one of those, it was like it was green color, and it was like one of those small ones with the two doors.
Yeah.
Anyway, it had a CD player. I don't know if it was because I was like listening to so much Carly Rae Jepsen and Drake in the car, but like the CD player kind of like broke. It wouldn't spit CDs back out. And so then for a chunk of time I was listening to just regular radio, and then I saw the logo on that my car was like ready to have satellite radio, and so I was like, like fuck it, I'll try it. It's nice to have. How long have I had that car? That was late 2010s, so probably since then.
Do you know what you're paying?
I think it's like $18 a car, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a program where you can, however many cars you have in the family, you can.
And I don't know if they'll give you a package deal if you get more of them. So I've got my wife's car and I got my car.
Yeah.
And then you also get it. There's like an app on the phone that has even more channels to it.
Yep.
So like there's even more niche markets that they hit. So like they got Indie 1.0. Like with the Shins, I picked that one. I probably could have populated this entire list just with indie rock records. I didn't want to be too like one note about it. I wanted to give kind of a general. So like the Shins one I picked because that kind of sums up my love for that whole genre of rock music. But Sirius does on the app have a specifically, they call it Indie 1.0, and it's
Okay.
any indie music, any indie rock music that's older than 10 years.
Gotcha.
So,
So, is there a channel in particular on Sirius that feeds you Drake?
so he's got his own Drake sponsored channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
The car that I have now, also, I mean, it was unavoidable. It was like, a sticker on the driver's side door window and something else. And I think they called me like within a week or something. And I was stoked about it. I used it a decent amount that first year, and I didn't move too much. I probably had 3 or 4 stations.
You got a particular station that was your jam?
Yeah, Fish Radio. That's
nice,
my
yeah.
the jam band. That's been my thing for a long time. But it wasn't that when I got the car. I think it was Jam On.
Oh,
And then
okay.
they
I didn't
made-
realize they had an all jam band because I think they have that on the app now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I listened to that quite a bit. There was a very short window where my kids wanted to hear like the Kids Bop
Yeah, they got
channel.
that. We've done that. Yeah.
And there was 1 or 2 others that I would I think the Dead have their own. I would poke around at that.
Yeah, I do a fair amount of Dead channel also.
Nice.
That's pretty good for like,
Yeah.
because if you got a long drive, you
Yep.
can sometimes catch a whole set, which is nice.
And then I just kind of really moved away from it and just streaming. And so it's not, maybe from the app is different. I had the app at one point, but I hardly use it, so I got rid of it. So trying to figure out how to get in touch with them to say I don't want to do this anymore
okay.
is not easy.
Oh, okay.
And then finally, it's been only via a chat bot.
That you've been able to
and
extricate
finally
yourself as like
they're-
a timeshare or
They're
something.
like,
yeah.
they're like, we'll cut. They all of a sudden they were like, okay, instead of $25.99, how about $13.99?
Nice.
And I was like,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like a timeshare, honestly.
yes,
yeah.
but I'm super annoyed that I, in theory, could have been paying that all along.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, but I didn't go back to using it. And after 6 months or whatever, it went back up, and I like fucked around and didn't, maybe even for a year. And finally one day I was like, oh my God, I gotta stop literally just throwing money in the trash because I'm not using it.
Yeah.
And they, I mean, all the way down to like $4.99. And I was like, I am so, just cancel. Like this
Yeah.
is, I get it. Like, you got to have some kind of ploy to keep me in the thing, and then in the fine print it'll
Yeah.
skip back, but no moss, please.
Yeah. It's honestly, it really is like a contemporary kind of timeshare. They're trapping you in there. Don't want to let go. Yeah.
And the same thing happened. I moved back in 2000, and the first one of the first things I did was get a subscription to the Star.
Right.
And I was like,
yeah, I still got that, and they jack up those prices. They're ruthless. Yeah.
It was like in the $20 to $25 a month range in 2000, and I kept it and kept it and kept it, and watched the size of the paper go down to, and then it landed somewhere in the $75 to $100 a month range, and I was like, I held on as long as I could. I can't do it anymore. And they were like, what about 39? And I was like, God, no. Like,
yeah.
if you've always had it in your ability to offer me that rate, like, why have I not been getting it from anyway? But now I can't really access it was wonky for like a year and a half or 2 years where I could still access stuff digitally. And then they finally fixed it all. So as a non-subscriber, you can't really get in there.
Yeah, and I'm honestly right now I'm in that boat. I subscribe to the Star because I'm trying to support some local news. It makes me sad that it's not
Yeah.
available. I feel like we're all a little bit dumber for it,
Mm-hmm.
but man, they don't make it easy.
Not at all.
They'll change prices real quick, and they just don't make it easy.
Yeah.
But I know they have services now that you can purchase online that will go through for you and cancel unused subscriptions on your behalf, and you pay them a fee or something, and they'll do it for you
Yeah.
because of all the difficulty it entails
Yep.
to actually cancel a subscription.
Yeah, absolutely. So last but not least, 2011, Freaking Out, Toro y Moi. 10 studio albums, 6 EPs. This is the third of those EPs, 5 tracks, 20 minutes. American singer, songwriter, record producer, and graphic designer. Mad props to folks born in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And also, if you're credited for spearheading the chill wave genre, well, that's cool too. How did this guy wind up on your radar?
I'm a big fan of dance music.
Okay.
Big fan of chillwave. I liked all that stuff when it was coming out. He's got a lot of other records that I like, but this one specifically, I really like it. I know it's shorter; it's an EP.
Yep.
So I don't know if that, yeah,
It's cool though.
yeah.
Um,
Some of these are covers of songs that were big inspirations for him.
Okay.
Saturday Love. Trying to remember which one. A couple of them are covers. I've got the CD at home. I'll have to look and see which ones he didn't write. But like LCD Sound System was another artist that I thought about including
Yep.
in this top 5. But yeah, I like dance music. I like fun music.
Yep.
And I got a specific memory of this album.
which is
I was living in Lawrence still. They had a big snowstorm. We called ahead to the Granada to make sure that he was still going to be there because we didn't think that his tour was going to show up. I guess we were some of the few because this concert was very sparse. There was no one there.
Oh, wow.
And so we kind of had like a lot of area, move around and dance. But it was after this came out, so he played some songs off of here.
Fun.
My roommate bought the LP afterwards, and yeah. So I just I like this one a lot.
Sorry, and you first hear of him because
So I first heard of Toro, and this was another band that I thought about including too. So I went to a Caribou show. This was still in Virginia,
okay.
and Toro was the opener.
Oh, wow.
So this is the first time I had heard him, and this was when he was very first starting, and when kind of the chill wave as a genre was like
Yeah.
more in its early stages. But I remember really liking it, and then I just kind of followed his career since then. So I've seen him. I've seen him a number of times. and,
Nice.
yeah, I just think his compositions are like pretty compelling. I just like his sound.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Your honorable mentions list was not small.
Yeah. In order to come up with these 5, I basically I made that whole list, and then I went back through and starred each one that I would consider, and then I
Okay.
kind of whittled it down from there. Yeah.
How many passes through do you think you had to make until you were like, all right, this is what I'm going to send him?
I think ultimately it took me a minute to go through and make the list. A lot of these albums were, like we were talking about earlier, these were ones that I had listened to a ton and then burnt out on. And I hadn't returned to in a while.
Yeah.
And so this was a chance for me to kind of return and
fun.
see which ones so it was kind of cool. Like I got to go back and
Yeah.
listen to ones that, but I honestly, I spent a few days, maybe a week or two thinking about it. And then I kind of was just like, well, I just got to pick something. There's no way to make a top 5 without leaving something else
Yep.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, just on a post-it note of all things, upstairs have mine, and it's 30, and I never made another pass through to whittle it down because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're.
But if I have thought many times about if I were to have to, it would be, more than one person has said this is like choosing your favorite kid.
Yeah.
So I don't envy the ask per se, but if it was not capped, then I mean, some of these conversations would go on for hours.
Yeah.
But
No, and honestly, I appreciated the exercise overall
cool.
because I think, like, I approached it. I was like, well, what, because I don't know that these 5 favorites are necessarily the ones that I would consider like the 5 best if you had to do
No,
that.
right.
But, like, what tells a story about myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, because best is undefinable.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's tough. Yeah.
It's subjective. It's based on your life experiences and people you know and things you do, and so influential or a good snapshot of who you are, and I don't know. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
So if you made it all the way through your wife's, I wrap with a series of goofy questions, and then we'll get you out of here.
Sweet.
So the first is, you get to have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, you're choosing. Who are you choosing and why?
Get to have lunch. I mean, honestly, I'd probably pick someone like a Mitch Hedberg, someone who I feel like would be kind of entertaining and fun to like have lunch with. Yeah. I know. I don't know what people what lunch partners people tend to pick. If they try to
All
pick
over the place.
Someone serious.
Somebody was like, the person that was working, sort of like Einstein's right-hand man to my grandmother, to a figure that was huge in their list. It's all over the place.
Yeah. Honestly, and also I'll do. I feel like David Lynch would probably be a pretty interesting one.
Wow.
I know he just died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of drugs.
I still do.
Still do, but I also used to. He's the king of one-liners. There's so many good ones. Any coming to mind for you right now?
I mean, like, at home, I mean, pretty much anytime I'm cutting sandwiches, I go back to that club sandwich bit where this club is formed. How do you feel about frilly toothpicks? Yeah.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
Or how about my belt is holding up my pants, but my belt loops are holding up my belt, and I gotta ask, who's really doing all the work down there? Oh, he's so
I did. I went because he'll sometimes you get reels of him will come up.
Yeah.
And he had a real funny one that I heard the other day. It was like when I'm going down a slide, I like to refer to myself and some other people. It's like, yeah.
Jesus.
As opposed to like, I think he's impressive to me because I think a lot of stand-up comedy relies on the surprise of hearing the punchline to the joke. But for whatever reason, like the way he crafts his one-liners, they almost have like a great replay value. Like they continue to be fun. I don't know how he achieved that, but
absolutely.
yeah.
Good stuff. So this is a long one, so bear with me. But I have initially titled it Social Studies Textbook Edit. And here's the premise. So in the 80s, the lens of American history / social studies in the textbook and the classroom, it's like 13 colonies and Boston Tea Party and Revolutionary War, and then you get like Washington and Lincoln and Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation and World War One, World War Two, maybe Vietnam. And then, like, maybe you got, like, the space wars and maybe up to and including the Reagan presidency and the Cold War, and then that's kind of it, because this book's only 2 years old, and we're not doing new ones for another couple of years, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's this condensed piece, but so as a society, new stuff, 85 to 25, 40 years have passed since that time for me. New stuff's got to get added. Old stuff has to be condensed or edited because the publisher says it's still going to be just this amount of space.
Yeah.
So they say they're handling the cuts and edits, but they've asked you to add 3 things to the new era of the last 40 years to be in our American public school classroom textbooks. What are you adding?
Since 85.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you probably would have to touch on like the commies being over with.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably have to touch on that one.
Meaning
like fall of communism and
wall in Berlin and that sort of stuff, or more specifically, just the Soviet Union.
I think probably just maybe you could probably get broader and just couch it in terms of like the rise of specifically probably American dominance, American imperialism worldwide.
Okay.
Once Soviet competition started to die back. Yeah.
That's one.
That seems like a major trend. I mean, and this is tough with like kids in social studies in general. Like, what do you pick? What's important? I got a lot of American and European history in college, so I'd kind of appreciate maybe along the lines of like American, meddling across the world. Like, what are some I don't know, something maybe I didn't catch as much of. History of Africa, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. American meddling in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe, I don't know. If I had to pick only 3 things, I find apartheid South Africa and fall of apartheid to be pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that may be another trend that I'd probably put in there.
Okay.
That's a little more succinct. Yeah. Let's go with that.
All right.
Number 3, if there's some way to talk about like the rise to dominance of like digital culture,
the internet
specifically. Yeah. So I don't know how to like sum that up. But
me
like,
either.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, you had a much more expansive reach than me. Than I 9/11.
Oh yeah. See, it's tough because it's like, what do I leave out? Like, yeah.
But so I'm also, and I know I didn't mention this, but sort of, it's hard to not, when you're a 7th grader or whatever, being taught the material from those textbooks, and you have chapter headings and then bold or sections within chapters and then bold terms that are probably going to be on a test.
Yeah.
And you're just taking notes and reading and learning and whatever. And then all these years down the road, you get this notion of, the history books are written by the winners or whatever, however that goes. I feel like there would be a pretty solid effort to put a picture of like a fallen twin tower next to a burning twin tower to sort of show look at how the world is scary out there, and be thankful for what you you don't like the fact that the pork chops your mom makes are dry, like fucking deal with it,
right?
But yeah, it's like the internet, 9/11, and then I mean right now
yeah, I feel like right now it seems like it at least feels pretty foreboding,
bro.
Yeah.
So you've seen footage of yesterday?
Yeah.
Fat Sharpie and the
holding. Just holding it all up. Yeah.
Did you see the clip about? It was part of a Jon Stewart TikTok, but about gender.
Yeah. So Trump has this whole thing, like that was like one of his main parts of his platform is to like make it so there's like only men and women can be gender in some kind of official capacity. It's dumb because I don't know what that means. But also, like,
Day one.
Yeah.
This is day one. Is from now on, and that's on the heels of Gulf of America and
Yeah.
taking over Greenland, and I mean, just like,
well,
what?
and kind of like, what are we talking about? Like, I feel like there's real problems in the world. Yeah.
Because there are,
Yeah. Yeah.
not just one or two, like lots.
Yeah, and like this is what we're focused on. Like, it's one of those deals where it's like, I feel like a lot of people who are very virulently like anti-trans, for example.
Yeah.
They probably don't know anyone
No, it's
who identifies like that.
no.
Yeah,
I saw
yeah.
a thing last night. It was like less than 2% of the people
Right.
are under that, and so like, how many
Yeah.
have you crossed paths with? Like,
And how about just like respect people's choices and maybe just move on? You know what I mean? Like, it's
that's
just like crazy.
that's way too big of an ask.
Yeah,
I think you
yeah.
got to start with the teeniest, tiniest. But anyway, you're given the opportunity to visit your past self, any age you're choosing. What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
I mean, like, aside from pulling, I'm assuming I can't pull like a Back to the Future 2 and provide some kind of like lottery information to
No, and also thank you. In that same vein, say whatever you choose to say to whatever age self you isn't going to necessarily
change anything. Yeah.
change, but it might like give you a little boost of confidence or make you feel less bad. But it's not going to totally alter who you are today.
Right. I'd probably go back to like around college age, undergrad age, maybe in the year after that. Some words of encouragement. Gonna be all right, bro. Trust yourself. You know,
I love it.
Don't shortchange yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it gets better.
Yeah.
It may not seem like it right now, but like you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Yeah.
I think about this all the time. I mean, it's I've got a list of, questions that I pull from for this, and some stay. Some are often they're on here because I like them, and that one's one of them.
Oh, do these questions shift each?
Sometimes. Well, like,
okay.
I mean, that social studies textbook one, that's brand new. Like,
Okay.
I felt confident that I could vomit all those words onto you and you would get it and have an answer, and hopefully the next time I ask it, it's better. But I mean, this past self one, it's like, I've asked it many times, and oftentimes the message is, oh, we're under the umbrella of regret. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. So I'm not wording this properly. And I think about it a lot because, like, one, believable, hey, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have done a lot for me in a lot of avenues.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not upset that it didn't happen, but just if you're thinking about, just goofy, off your rocker, concepts, like, it would have. And I think that the same can be said for a lot of folks.
Right.
So the greatest American rock band in history is?
Greatest American rock band. I mean, that's a tough one. And I don't know if you would even consider this like rock and roll per se, but I mentioned Graceland at the beginning. I think specifically for that record, I'd probably put up someone like Paul Simon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love
feel
it.
like like you can't really go wrong.
No.
Yeah.
No. It's and it's made a couple lists, and it's one of those that sometimes a record will be on somebody's list that I've heard enough times that I don't need to revisit it to refresh. That one's always fun too. It's just so, and it's also like, I remember as a young person when that came out, and there's like videos and there's all this involvement with Africa and music over there, and it sort of felt like this undefinable. I'm glad you made this record because I feel like we needed it, like all of we, not just the United States.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's still some of that. Like it aged well. It held up.
Yeah.
And can
And
sort of.
it doesn't really get old either.
Right.
Like
right.
it's still like I listened to it again for this.
Oh, cool.
And it's still it feels fresh. Like
Yeah.
it feels
yeah. Nice.
It has a timelessness to it. Yeah.
Please complete this. The world would immediately become a better place in which to live, if only.
Honestly, we were talking about it earlier. Honestly, if local news could be back to what it once was, you get a fat KC Star newspaper with like interesting local gossipy news in it.
Yeah. I like that answer. The other piece that didn't necessarily coincide and go hand in hand with my choice to no longer subscribe, but I just didn't like the idea. And again, I understand that print journalism, no longer held the sustainability, the profitability that it once did. But it bothered me that the newspaper went like that, and what's available online was like ginormous.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like the idea of it. This is the digital version of what's in print. And if you're a paper subscriber, you read it there. If you're a digital subscriber, you read it there. But it's like there's so much that was over here and not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're paying that subscription fee. And it's like, what?
Yep. Yep.
Well, this has been great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's nice to meet you. Any plugs, or is there anything that you had hoped that we would cover that we didn't?
I mean, I didn't come in with a lot of expectations. I'll plug my wife, Lisa, for turning me on to this.
Yeah.
This has been really cool.
Yeah, she's not too far from now coming back for
round two. Taylor Swift Boogaloo, yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I shared this with her when we were messaging, but also I think when she was here, she not too long into you guys were on vacation, into our messaging, I got a picture of a pad. She was making her list.
Yeah, she had her whole
from the hotel bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I didn't do it in 2024, and I don't know if it will continue moving forward. But I, for years, have gone to Colorado for basically a week, circling Labor Day. And in the middle of that are, it used to be 3-night run. Now it's been a 4-night run of fish shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I go with the same dude, and we don't do much of anything. We might play a round of golf. Obviously, we go to the shows, but a lot of the time in that week is just spent chilling in the hotel room. And a lot of times the U.S. Open is on. So I'm like just being completely lazy, watching tennis.
Yeah.
And it's
That's
like
the way to do it. Yeah.
I don't have, a wife that's like, we're going to go do these 14 things across these 3 days that we're here, or kids to entertain. It's just two dudes and like being lazy as can be in my hotel room. And so I giggled a lot at that, and I loved that she jumped on it right away. And so she's a great plug. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Definitely. Thank you.